The sponsor of the controversial hate speech bill, which is presently on the floor of the National Assembly, has bowed to pressure and has now promised to amend the death penalty part of the bill. Now, in the current bill, the death penalty is recommended for offenders found culpable of hate speech, which leads to the death of another. The Deputy Chief Whip of the Senate and sponsor of the bill, Senator Aliyu Abdullahi, says the penalty will be amended by the upper legislative chamber. According to the lawmaker, the bill will undergo fine-tuning to reflect the views of Nigerians. In his words, clearly from conversations, Nigerians agree that we have a problem in society today as a result of hate speech, which has fueled so many violence, killings, and is responsible for cases of depression and suicides. The overall concern is to curb violence and unnecessary loss of lives and livelihoods of Nigerians due to hate-induced violence. He adds that Nigerians should send in their contributions and criticisms for and against the bill meant to address the rates of depression and suicide, which he blames on wrong use of the social media. To electoral matters, President Muhammadu Buhari expects nothing but a thorough investigation into the murder of a woman leader of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in Kogi State, Mrs. Acheju Abu. The president, in a statement by his spokesman, condemned the murder, wondering what could have prompted anyone to take the life of another human being, particularly a woman who was burnt to death in her home in the most gruesome manner. The president therefore charges all security agencies involved in the investigation to do a thorough and expeditious job on the matter so that justice could be served without fear or favor. According to him, we must learn to behave decently, whether during elections or at other times. No life should be taken wantonly under any guise, and the fact that this reprehensible act occurred 2 days after voting shows primitive behavior which should not be accepted in any decent society. He sympathizes with the family of the slain woman leader, vowing that the long arm of the law would catch up with the offenders and justice would be served. Meanwhile, contrary to earlier reports about the People's Democratic Party boycotting the November 30 Kogi West senatorial supplementary elections, the PDP candidate for the election, Senator Dino Melayes, has described the statement as a misrepresentation of fact. On our Sunday Politics program, Senator Melayes pointed out that the PDP only rejected the conduct and outcome of the elections.
Presentation of the facts presented by the spokesperson of the PDP. He never said we're boycotting that election. This is just the imagination and postulation of the APC. He said the party rejects the results of that election and the figures that is giving birth to the rerun of, or rather the supplementary elections. The PDP is a people's party. The PDP is a party that respects the constitutionalism of democracy. The PDP will never shy away from political participation and elections. And the PDP will never say they are boycotting any election, though we all know that they are not credible, it's not fair, it's not free. But as a party, the PDP will never shy away from political participation. We are not going to the election because we have faith in the process. We are going into the election because as a political party, we will not shy away from elections. But because the results that even gave birth to this supplementary election itself is fraudulent, is not correct, it is fictitious, and you cannot build something on nothing.
In a swift reaction, the Chief Press Secretary to the Kogi State Governor, Mohammed Onogo, fired back at Senator Dino Melayes, claiming that the PDP has never participated in an election without an agenda for violence.
Going by the reports that various observers have turned in after the election was largely, the governorship election was largely adjudged as being fair and credible.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. When we have issue, that is where he is referring to, where he has interest in election, that is Kogi West Senatorial District. And we told the electoral umpire in the past that the PDP as a political party has a reputation of a party that cannot go into election without having a plan of violence in any election. The election was transparent. As far as we are concerned, we should give credibility and the credit to the electoral umpire. If you look at the conduct of the election in Kogi State, starting from the campaign, we held our primary election under free and fair atmosphere, without any hinges of violence. But when the opposition were conducting their primaries election in about September last 2 months, you knew what happened. It was marred with violence. So they are synonymous with violence. In the entire campaign we held in Kogi State, across the 3 senatorial districts, across the 9 constituency, and across 21 local government, down to 239 wards in Kogi State, there was no record of violence.
To some more political stories now. No one who is from the southeast and isn't naive will believe that a person from the geopolitical zone can become Nigeria's president in 2023. Now, that's the view of the Senate Minority Leader, Enaya Abaribe. Senator Abaribe told Channels Television's Ladia Keredoluale on our current affairs program, Newsnight, that all the signs point to a wild goose chase for those who have such expectations.
If somebody cannot let you be his gate man, how is he going to give you the keys to his house to come and live in the house? And I've just pointed out to you, show me that one person in this present government of APC, apart from statutory people, who is in this government. Show me one. Statutory ministers. Of course, you must have ministers. That is what the Constitution, tell me which other person. They have SGF, they have this, they have E, they have A, they have all those ones. They never let any person from the Southeast get near. And then they will tell the Southeastern, oh, this and that they will get there. How are you going to get there? And I continue to reiterate, and I ask everybody in APC, if you don't let me be your gate man, how can you give me the key to your house? Because if you want me to be president, that means you're going to bring me in. I'm going to be part of what you do. I'm going to have a role in your government. And so, if somebody, by his demeanor, by his action, does not let you even smell the seat of government, and then the man tells you, don't worry, in 4 years' time, I'm going to give it to you. How will you believe him?
For the full interview with Senator Abaribe, do watch Newsnight tomorrow, Monday, 25th November 2019 at 9 p.m. only on Channels Television. More stories now. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, believes that Nigeria must leverage on technology to advance its development journey. The Vice President was speaking at the graduation ceremony of the Senior Executive Course 41 2019 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies in Kogi, Plateau State. He commended members of the class for their recommendations on funding universal healthcare delivery in Nigeria.
Addressing the challenge of a broad-based healthcare delivery may have been facilitated by these 66 participants of the Senior Executive Course 41 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies in Kogi, Plateau State, who have just become members of the nation's foremost policy think tank. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who is standing in for the president at their graduation ceremony, commends their recommendations to the government on the theme funding universal healthcare delivery in Nigeria. The Vice President offers an assurance that the document will be implemented as a pillar to the healthcare delivery policy in the country.
This course made yesterday to the President and members of the Federal Executive Council on the crucial subject of funding universal healthcare in Nigeria. Your in-depth assessment of the issues and your insightful recommendations deserve every commendation. I think it's fair to say that a lot of the recommendations that you made were practical, and just as the President said yesterday, they certainly will go into thinking through our financing policy for healthcare. But more importantly, they will form the pillars of our health policy going forward.
According to the Director General of the Institute, the aim of the course is to improve the overall performance of the participants in their different professional callings.
The team approved for SEC 41 2019 is funding universal healthcare delivery in Nigeria. Your Excellency, the team was structured into 6 sub-teams: understanding funding universal healthcare delivery, historical and policy context of universal healthcare delivery in Nigeria, frameworks for funding universal healthcare delivery in Nigeria, funding universal healthcare delivery in Nigeria, issues and challenges, funding models for universal healthcare delivery, overview of local best practices, and funding universal healthcare delivery in Nigeria, policy options and strategies.
After 10 months of rigorous research and training to contribute to a government solution to funding universal healthcare delivery, participants are inducted as members of the National Institute.
It will definitely go a long way, especially the innovative financial initiatives that we've recommended. Okay, for instance, for every minute call, a certain amount is going to be taken and set aside for funding of universal health care. The government, the present government, is really committed for affordable, accessible, and quality health care for all Nigerians. So we're very hopeful that within a short while, all Nigerians will no longer be one illness away from abject poverty.
Hopefully, the recommendations of the Institute towards solving the problem of funding universal healthcare delivery in Nigeria will be implemented, because it is expected to make primary healthcare affordable and available to all citizens.
25 million trees are to be planted across the country as part of the federal government's initiative to check the menace of afforestation, desert encroachment and erosion. The Minister of Environment, Mohammed Abubakar, announced this measure while speaking at the 13th National Council on Environment in Kaduna State, even as he advocated mainstreaming climate change in the state's development. Stakeholders at the event also stressed the need to develop and implement new policies that will ensure proper management of environmental challenges in the country.
Over the years, climate change is posing a threat to global security, going by the effects of flooding, earthquake, wildfires, among others. In Nigeria, growing desertification in the north has forced thousands of herders to move southwards, often leading to persistent clashes with farmers. Illegal logging and over-dependence on firewood for cooking have stripped a greater part of the Guinea savanna of its vegetation cover. The situation is no different in the south-south, where the forests are being reduced to grassland, while gully erosion has continued to devastate many communities in the southeast. At this 13th Annual National Council on Environment held in Kaduna State, safeguarding the environment through advocacy comes to the fore, as experts and policymakers brainstorm on how to checkmate the challenges of climate change.
The activities of man, as the chairman of the Committee on Environment has said, is largely responsible for why and how we got to where we are today. And when you look at why this was done, they said the air quality is affected mostly by fuels from motor cars, but largely by fuels from bypass and neighborhood generators. We have to look at the issue of power. I want the Ministry of Environment to engage the Ministry of Power to actualize solar power generation in this country.
Stakeholders believe that positive engagement will ensure effective implementation of policies that will help in tackling environmental challenges in the country.
We need to make people understand, these challenges so that they can take informed decisions on how to deal with these challenges. And I think that is one of the areas that we're focusing on, apart from advocating to the relevant authorities. We're also sensitizing and mobilizing people for that.
On the sidelines of the meeting, the Minister of Environment reveals that the federal government will soon embark on planting 25 million trees across the country.
You have the issue of drought and desertification. And that is why we are talking about the planting of trees, just like Kaduna State is doing, planting about 300 and something kilometers. It does not just stop desertification, but it increases rainfall. It increases the livelihood of the people. With the trees, you can have a lot of different things happening. It creates jobs. So there are so many things that this will happen. So this usual council that we have every year is just the right forum to present memoranda and whatever issues that is pertaining to state, and will collectively treat them.
While talks on addressing the effects of climate change and safeguarding the environment continue, it would only make sense and save the situation when words are translated into positive action.